Hello, today we are going to build a low-cost worm bin. We are going to use this growing bag, which also ideally already has holes in them, so there's nothing to pierce. It also has holes at the bottom where some of the water and worm leachate will be able to flow out. I've picked this location because it is shaded. I'm going to cut some of these branches to clear it out and make space here. You can see some of the gear that I will be using. A lot of that stuff is already available here that has been used for other use cases, but which now comes together and fits quite well for this worm bin project. So let's begin. I just cleared the leaves, so we've got a bit more space to move around. And now I'm gonna get some rock sand. Here's a bucket of rock sand, which I will spread out on the ground here to flatten the ground, where we will then apply bricks. Now that we got the bricks, or blocs pouces, we will use them here. To get an idea of the block spacing, I've measured inside and it's close to 50 centimeters. We will want the tray to fit underneath the bag, and it is narrow enough. There should be enough space for the bag to fit on the bricks. You'll see it in a moment. So this is the setup with the bricks. It is not perfectly level, but that's alright. It doesn't need to be perfectly flat because the content in the bag also will not be perfectly flat. It takes a bit of time sometimes to get it level, but it's not gonna be worth it for this project. It already looks pretty good this way. You can see that this brick is level, so I'm gonna fill the bricks with some more rock sand. So now the blocks have been filled with rock sand. We will look at putting in a structure to hold the bag, like a bridge. We're gonna build a little bridge of support. So this fencing material could come in handy to do some of the bridge support. So why do I have this? We used this long ago as a worm bin cover, like this, on our box build. So these boxes are worm breeder bins, and they also produce a lot of compost. This is a more premium model compared to the bag that we are building right now. So today the project is to be low cost. These ones are different. If you want more details on these, you can find that on the channel. There's a reason why I have a lot of these boxes. They have proven themselves to be heavy duty. They have lived several years in the sun without breaking, and they have evolved over time, which you can see with the geotextile and the alu carbon lids. We can have a look like what it's like inside. So all the boxes are pretty full, and let's see the worms. So there are also lots of worms in there. It works well. I do sell these custom made. So this cover made from galva fencing, ça veut dire des pouces par des pouces. We cut it, and like I was saying to my happy farmer friends, this material is very convenient to do all sorts of builds, including those big worm bins you can see at the back. They were also made with this galva material. I stopped using it as a cover on these worm bins because it was impractical for open closing. We used to place rocks on them, and we did also add an additional smaller fencing on top to prevent rodents from going in. But over time, as you can see, the boxes have evolved. We found a better solution. So nothing gets thrown away. So this finds a new life, a new use case. Let's see how it performs for our bag project. The amazing thing is that it fits perfectly. Like one thing goes with another. Looking good. I also plan to do a few pipes through that as strengthening support. And is it gonna rust? Yes, it will rust over time, but it should give you plenty of lifetime, and you can then cut a new one out. So we're talking about over a year at least. It's a bit dark over there, so I'm gonna do the cuts here, and it's 60 centimeter wide. This should do. I have 6 pieces, and I will recommend you this tool to do this work. It's very easy to cut pipes with. Next, I'm going to stick those metal pipes into these PVC flexible pipes to strengthen them, and they will also be straightened. So why do I have these metal pipes? Let me show you why these are hanging around. So you see this raised bed? Well, let me show you a raised bed full of veggies. So the reason I have these metal bars is to make such a raised bed hold, it needs support. So it has these spots here. Let's see if we can look at another one. Like here, you see, that's the metal bar that holds them. But I have some that are left over that I might use in other raised beds in the future, but that's still pending. So I can use them in the project pipe for today. Now you have an idea why these metal bars are hanging around. So as a funny comment, it could be if you're not doing anything in your garden, you probably don't have any stuff lying around that you can use for other do-it-yourself builds, which means you need to get active and start building something. Now let's go back to the project. By the way, look at this. This is a new prototype worm bin that I'm working on. If you're curious how it works, let me know. So let's proceed with the build. I'm sharing you these details because I thought it might make the video more fun as well. So this is how it looks like with the bars going through the pipe. There's some pieces looking out. That's because I've used 2 parts of metal bars. So I'm not gonna like correct or cut them. That would be too much work just for this. And you see there's a gap in between of them. I expect these bars might move when you have the bag on it, and also the fencing material. So what I might do next now is put some manure in between as spacer, and then we'll see if that holds better. Here's a bucket of manure. We're gonna apply it here and let's see how it works. So this should hold for a start, and I'm gonna put the fencing material on top and also stick some manure through it to make it hold. I've also camouflaged a bit the metal bars that were looking out, so you don't see them that much. What I could also do is put a a layer of manure just next to the blocks, the same height as the bars, so they would be then completely covered. So that would be an idea. So next is this one. So this is what it's looking out like now. I have added some more manure on the sides, so this creates spacing and avoids you hitting any of the metal bars should they ever look out. They're quite well camouflaged right now. I haven't added a layer on top here yet so that you can see the difference. So this is gonna be like a weight and support on top, and this should hold everything quite well. So I'm gonna do this side now, and then we are pretty much close to adding the bag on top and filling it. Okay, here you are. Both sides now have manure. Which manure did we use? It is cow manure. It's more sticky and works well as a mortar to do that. It's gonna dry up after time, but here it's gonna be humid because we're gonna water the worm bag, and it will hold for quite a long time. It's better than using this manure, horse manure. So you could use horse manure to do a mix to create a mortar, but I am not familiar with the formula yet. So I've been using just this. It's just simple. And we are going to put the bag on top. So why does it have to be reinforced like this? It's a 100-liter bag and it's gonna get heavy. So this is the bag, 100-liter by UDC, sold in Bobassa. You can also contact them if you want to buy a bag like this. It's also sold in many pépinières, like at La Bourdonnais. You can get it. I know you want to know the price. We'll get to that in the end. Now we want to know if this holds. We'll fill this up with manure, and then let's see how its shape changes. I will add 2 buckets of cow manure as a base layer, which are 40 liters. And then I will add a bucket of horse manure, 20 liters, which would fill the bag to the 60-liter level, meaning there's still space for 40 liters, which could be then gap layer for putting leaves. So I'll add it and then we'll see how it looks like. Okay, it's getting dark and I've added the last bucket of horse manure. I don't think you can see it well right now, so we're gonna continue tomorrow. I'm gonna pour water in and also check if it is turning hot tomorrow. If it's turning hot, I will let it rest for a while before adding the worms. But it would be nice if I can already add worms tomorrow, then I could also show you that, and then this video would be kind of complete quite soon. So let's see how it holds. Once I add water, it's going to get more heavy. So have a good evening and we continue soon. It's a new day. Let's see how it's going with the grow bag worm bin. So one thing you can notice is the liquid is flowing through. It's coming out at the bottom, which you can collect to water your plants with. So this is worm leachate, not worm tea. Now let's check if it's hot. It's cold. It's good, so we can proceed. I'm gonna add some coffee waste and cardboard waste, and I'll end it with leaves, and then we'll add some worms. So this is 1 bucket of cardboard that has been soaking in water, and this is coffee waste. It already contains a lot of worms because we stock it in a place where the worms have moved in on their own. from our other worm bins. It's obviously not a full bucket, just a small amount, enough for this bag. If you want to see where I stock the coffee waste, so you get an idea why it already contains worms, we can have a look. Look, there's a papaya fallen from the tree and eaten by the birds. I'll add that to our other worm bin later, to this one, which is also an experiment. As you see, it has a lid. It is good for food waste, keeps rodents out if there are any. So this is our coffee waste storing location. This is coffee that comes from Jiva coffee and Tamarin. You can see the worms. They moved in there on their own. So these are all red wiggler worms. It's a bit dry, I have to water this. And they love coffee. You can see. These are worms that I have not put in here. Look at that. Just love coffee. Also shout out to Eva's Kitchen, who are very kind volunteers to bring us the coffee waste from Tamarin on a regular basis. I usually order my bone broth from Eva's Kitchen. I can really recommend it to you. Healthy food. So these worms will then be also part of the next batch, the grow bag. So in theory I don't really have to add or get worms from a separate worm bin, but I will still do that. So now let's go back to the grow bag worm bin. This is just for you to see where we stock cardboard paper waste, which we feed to the worms. So this, most of it usually comes from our neighbor, the shopping center. Yeah, great way to recycle waste, turning it into compost. And to distract you a bit, is vermicompost awesome? Well, let's give you an example. These are seedling trays, all full of vermicompost only, and seeds grow really well in them, as you can see. I tried many other types of compost and soil, but I get the best results with vermicompost. So that's why it's a good reason for you to make your own vermicompost if you can. If you're watching this video just for fun or out of curiosity and you don't want to get into the hassle of making your own vermicompost, you just want a ready finished product to apply, I also sell vermicompost. You can buy it from us and apply it straight to your raised bed and get beautiful veggies from it without using any pesticides or chemical fertilizers. As you can see, the results from this raised bed, it contains a layer of vermicompost on top. This is our packaged finished product, vermicompost in buckets. So you have a version with biochar and then one without. It's 20 liters volume. If you're interested, let me know. Now let's go back to our project. I've added the coffee waste and the cardboard waste, but I'm not so satisfied by the look of this cardboard. It's already quite decomposed or broken down. I need to give them a bit some more, which will be something they can work on. In the meantime, while they got this to eat, the other will start breaking down. So it gives them food for a good while. Plus all the manure at the bottom, so they're well fed for a good time now. at least a few months. So in hindsight, while I was reflecting on this worm bin yesterday, there are certain aspects of this build that you don't have to make exactly like this if you just want to get started. Like, don't let the steps discourage you from beginning. Try to remain creative and just get started if you want your own worm bin. If you find that having bricks and the plastic pipes and that fencing piece that's in the middle, that's all too complicated, you can just place such a go bag on the ground, just like you use it to plant flowers. That should also work. It's important to understand that these builds do not need to be replicated in exactitude to work. What matters most is you start and you gain your experience. So we're gonna get some cardboard and some more worms. Getting some worms from the breeder bin. This is already vermicompost. So these will be our worms that will go into the other worm. I have to pause the camera. I will need my two hands. Quarter bucket full should do. So I'm gonna transfer the worms now into the worm bag. I mean, these buckets all looks a bit the same, right? So we'll see if you get to see some worms. Get some leaves. You know what's quite interesting is that under the leaves they have already started to form some compost. Look at that. I've done no intervention here. It's just our leaf drop-off area and it's already created compost. How amazing is that? Do I see a worm there? Now millipedes. I will give some of that to the worms as well. They will like that. The leaves and part of its compost are now in the worm bag bin. You could call that a worm bag. What I want to try next is a sort of lid. If I can cover it, water it one more time, then we are good. So there are holes on the side here, out of which some very fine material could flow out, but it's quite rare to happen and quite unlikely. And if it does, it's not really an issue. You're not gonna lose your worm bin because of that. Could the worms go into this manure on the side on their own? Yes, they could, and they will. Some of them will come out and be adventurous. And one other reason why I'm using this location is because it's shaded, and then also because it's close to a source of manure on this side, which means it's a very narrow walking distance. But this is more for concept. This is not a big worm bin. The reason I'm putting this more into practice is because we do have big worm bins, and we have to carry sometimes a long distance the manure to the worm bin. Okay, this cover is not really working. I have to find something else, but it's not absolutely necessary. I've put this little rectangular fence cover on top, which we built in the past for our box worm bins. Doesn't fit exactly, but it could help to avoid a bird flying in there. It will definitely not protect you from rodents, but from experience, this kind of worm bin doesn't really attract rodents, because we're going to process all types of food waste in there. It might be a fruit once in a while, because a mouse or a rat can just go underneath and get in here. It's going to be easy for them. But if you maintain it regularly, you water it, there's always some movement, the rats will not like it. And if you're containing them, keeping them distant from your property, it's gonna be alright. In the meantime, the tray has filled up, and I'm gonna give this water back to the worms. It contains nutrients that they like. It's also called slurry. Regarding the cost factor, how much it would cost to set this up, if you're going to buy the bag, it is currently under 500 rupees. Then you add the bricks, the tray, you should be around 600 if you're sourcing it yourself. For what goes into the worm bag, you could buy it from me, which are the manure bags and also the worms. A manure bag of 20 liters for retail, currently I'm selling at 200 a bag, and I sell the worms in 1 liter volume, which is mixed in their worm castings, so you get adult, juveniles, eggs, everything mixed. Around 100 worms, I would say, approximate. That would be 1,000 rupees. So I would say if you do it very similar like this, you can be at 2,500. You should estimate, but then you have to calculate also your transport. And I didn't consider the galvanized fencing material that was cut. That would also cost extra if you're going to build it. So here you have a rough estimate. There are probably ways to make it cheaper by just getting the bag, filling it with materials that you can source and having it on the ground. But if you want like to harvest the worm leachate, which you can water your plants with, then you consider this kind of setup. So the video is about to end and we're gonna do a little highlight. I will feed this to my new worm bin setup. It's a very high papaya tree. So coming up soon is a presentation of this worm bin. Very different. I'm gonna feed them this. Let's see if we can see some worms. I haven't put many in here. So it's a very different setup. They are on the corner there. And they look very healthy. There's lots of eggs. Super well fed worms. Look at that. So this is a worm egg and there are plenty of here. So they like it. More worm eggs. You see them? 1, 2. There are more there in the background. They each contain 10 to 20 baby worms. I didn't add many worms in here, and by the good state of things, it means I probably don't have to do much more in here. They're just gonna populate it on their own. Something cool about this build. It does have a smell. You can use that to dilute and water your plants, but I'm going to give it back to the worms. It's like a manure slurry and the worms love that. So I create a cycle. I'm basically not adding new water in here for a while, so the worms get to have very nutritious stuff. And it's safe from rodents, even flies when I close it. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for more details on this upcoming model in the future.